Om. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Jnaneshwari Bhavartha Deepika, chapter 17, verse number 14, OV number 211. And the verse we are looking at is Dve Deva Dvija Guru Pragnya Pujanam Shauchamarjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsam Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. We are looking at the tapasya at the body level. After that it will come on at speech level. After that it will come at mind level, because activity happens at the level of body, speech and mind. This is where the activity takes place. So I'll recap the whole verse once we complete this 211 to 215. So here the OV says, जन्मतेनि प्रसंगे स्त्रीदेह शिवणे आंगे तेथूनि जन्म आघवे सोवळे कीजे भूतमात्राचे नावे तृणही ना सुडावे किं बहुना सांडावे छेद भेद ऐसैसी जय शरीरी रहाटीची पडे उजरी तय शारीर तप घुमरी आले जाण पार्था समस्त ही हे करणे देहाचे नि प्रधानपणे म्हणवनीया ते मी म्हणे शारीर तप एवं शारीर जे तप तयाचे दाविले रूप आता ऐक निष्पाप वाङ्मयते. Here he says, Bhagwan is telling that we are talking about the person who is doing this tapasya at the body level. They are saying his only contact with the body of the opposite sex is only when he is born to his mother, and after that he is ever alert, and therefore and now he is ever aware that the Supreme Being is ever presiding in all the beings, and therefore he, instead of creating relationships, instead of possessing, instead of controlling them, he starts serving them, because he's at least, and now we are in 17th chapter, it's no more a suspicion now. Now he is sure that the divine is expressing in and through every being, and therefore such a person at the body level is ever ready to serve the people. And see, there is one rule with which we should live, and that is, you must have heard me say this before, never be a taker, always be a giver. See, we should not demand anything from anyone. Okay. Then you see how quickly the purification will happen, and the self-confidence, the Atma Bala. See? Then this Hina Bhava, that poor me, sickly me, unfortunate me, my someone passed away, my child left me, this happened, I had an accident, I have a disease, I have this, and continuously seeking attention, 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 attention. We want attention. No, give attention. Give whatever is, you can only give what you have. so if this person is having the vision, because he is at the body level and he is looking at other bodies, and his attention is in the spirit, on that divinity which is expressing in and through all the bodies, then instead of demanding their attention, whether someone gives him attention or not, someone praises him or not, he continues to serve in whichever way possible, and therefore here it is said that he is always ready to bestow favors on others, and restraining his senses, he avoids meeting with woman. Meeting with woman means with passion, desire, lust, with that angle. And if we are not careful, when meeting the person with the opposite sex, if our attention is not on the spirit, then there is every possibility for the woman also and for the man also, because seekers are both, not only men or only women. So there is every possibility that we can slip that simple rule, chapter 2, dhyayato vishayan punsa. Anything that you interact with more than required, then you get attached to it. When you get attached to it, you start desiring it. And this is the ladder of fall given in the 2nd chapter Bhagavad Gita. So whatever our attention in and through our life is on that spirit, even at the body level, and I'll recap the whole thing again. And then he says, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, his only contact with a woman is at the time of his birth, but after that he avoids such contact and remains clean all his life. He does not walk over green grass, knowing full well that there is life in all things, and avoids breaking things. This is ahimsa now. So, in the Jain Sampradaya, in the Jain religion, the Digambaras, they carry the peacock feather. They are themselves naked or very scantily dressed, only a langot or something, and they carry the jhadu, the क्या बोलते हैं झाड़ू को, जो भी झाड़ू. They carry the broom is different. झाड़ू होता है, झाड़ू को broom नहीं बोलते. इधर का झाड़ू, broom तो वो डंडे के साथ, and then it has got that thing, Will you call that broom? अपना जो झाड़ू है, hand वाला? Anyway, whatever it is, you understand what I'm saying. So they make the jhadu out of the peacock feathers, and before putting any step, they clean the area, the road or the pathway that they are walking on. So they are so alert. And same way, a person who is living a very disciplined life, his attention is on the divinity within him, within other beings, and in this whole creation, then automatically this becomes his disposition. He cannot hurt anyone. He cannot. See? And therefore, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying here that he avoids breaking things. Phatak phatak nahi. Sab kuch there is a discipline in everything. The way he walks, the way he talks, the way he lifts things, the way he keeps things. Violence is, what? Coming back from work, taking your jacket and throwing it on the bed. That is violence. Waiting for someone else to sort it out. Taking shower and leaving the wet towel all together on the shower screen. waiting for someone else to spread it out. That is violence with the towel. See? But as we become aware, we start living life with awareness. We become available to these small, small, small things in life. Everything becomes an act of perfection. Everything becomes a way of elegance. Everything becomes a way of non-violence. In this way, when the activities of his body remain pure, then know that his austerities of body have become perfect. When his body becomes pure means the actions that are coming out of him are for the betterment, are as a service to the people and the society and the environment. He is not there to make and break and desire, and he is content at the body level. He is living a disciplined life. O Partha, when all such things take place in relation to his body, I call them austerities of the body, tapasya of the body. Austerities means tapasya of the body. I have thus told you the characteristics of the austerities of the body. Now hear about the austerities of the speech, which are flawless. Now in the next verse he will be talking about the tapasya at the speech level. But let's just recap this particular verse. Deva Dvija Guru Pragnya Pujanam Shaucha Marjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. And remember that we never say to yourself what that no, I am not at the body level, I am at the mind level. No. Never over evaluate yourself. Don't be overconfident. We are throughout the day, sometimes we are functioning at the body level, sometimes at the speech level, sometimes at the mind level. See? So never say, no, I am not this. I think, take one or two incidents in your life and say that you are doing the tapasya at the body, it's done. Now I can move on to the next one, the subtle. So this is the gross, and now we move on to the subtle. So here the tamoguna which was talked about, the tamoguna, it expresses as nidra alasya pramad. We told you about it last week or week before, and how a person can come out of nidra alasya pramad. How can he take a bypass? How can he make sure that in his life the gravity of sleep, laziness, procrastination and inadvertence is not predominant. This gravity is not predominant. So is there a way out? Yes. What is the way out? This is the verse. And what does it say? It says that that first it was told that a person should do the Deva Dvija Guru Pragnya Pujanam. These were that we should do puja or do service. Then what is this Deva Puja? The Deva Puja is a way of surrendering ourselves to the Lord, you see. And naturally, when we do Dev Puja every day, I know some of you do it. Get up in the morning, brush your teeth, go to toilet, take your shower, and before you have your breakfast, you light your lamp, you do your short puja or Agnihotra or Sandhya Vandan or a short puja, Panchopchar puja, or you sit for japa or you sit for meditation, whatever. But then meditation and all and japa, that will again become at the speech level and the mind level. But at the physical level, you did all this, no? So if you are committed to it every day, then you have to get up in the morning. Automatically your life becomes disciplined. And when we are committed to doing this Deva Puja with that discipline, then we will get up early in the morning. Then, and if we are getting up in the morning, automatically we have those extra hours in the day. But today's kids, today only I made some focaccia sandwich for the kids at home, and one of the girls, till 1 o'clock she was sleeping. Till 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Then I said, I'm not giving you the sandwich till you don't take shower. Poor thing had to take shower, come out, then eat. See, maybe they were studying, it's okay, but one must get into this habit. And that, at the body level we are talking about. When we are at the body level, we must, and we consider ourselves to be the body, we must get up early in the morning. If we are not living at the possession and relation level, then you have the freedom to get up late. Because you slept late. Why did you sleep late? You are doing your japa, you may be in sadhana, whatever. But if you are at the body level and consider yourself to be the body, then we must get up early in the morning and begin a day with a fresh, inspired mood. And how do you get inspiration? You don't get inspiration by thinking about the world of objects. You get inspiration when you're thinking of the divine. So the first thing, the first onslaught of thoughts, of activity is as a service towards the Lord. See? And as I said before, that puja teaches us how to remain alert and do things in discipline. When you are doing the puja, you cannot give Lord the abhishek first, that means the bath first, and then take the sankalpa. You can't do the Naivedya first and then the Pushpanjali. No. There is a system, the Shodoshopchar Puja. Everything has to be step by step. As you keep doing it, then interest comes. I should chant the mantra also with each step. And things happen. See? And then one more point is that we are not able to go to temple every day. Our society is made here in Australia, it is made in such a way. In India, if you go, the society was built around the temples. And apart from that, every house had its own temple. Here, we have altar at the home. We don't have a temple, but we have an altar. And now with the new homes, whichever home I go to see, the newly built, all the Indian people are making one room as a temple. They keep some small space where they can sit, meditate, chant, read, do the puja, abhishek, etc. That's their private space, which is uncontaminated. See? And that is good. So that becomes your own personal altar, where you surrender yourself completely. Then comes the Dvija. Dvija is twice born. Every human being by birth is a Shudra. Don't believe anything else that is being told to you. All the fights in the world are only because, or at least in India, is only because of this. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, which has been capitalized by the unwanted forces. Okay? Our religion, our scriptures clearly say every human being is born a Shudra. Shudra means he who is dependent. Shudra means who has got no capacity, ability to take care of himself. He doesn't have the brains. A child doesn't have the brain. All he can do is keep crying. Whenever he wants something, cry. And after growing up also we are like that, then it's a pathetic condition. So here it says that every person is born as a Shudra, and then what is Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmana? It is the ladder of cultural perfection. It's a ladder of cultural perfection. So, how do you become culturally perfect? By your knowledge and by your action. So, as the child grows, what are the samskaras? How is he speaking? How is he talking? How is he behaving? What is he learning? See? So and every child has its own propensity. They get attracted to knowledge, some get attracted to devotion, some get attracted to carpentry, some get attracted to IT, some get attracted to yoga, some get attracted to whatnot. So many different things. And there's nothing wrong. This society is made up of these 4 categories. And there is no one which is greater or lower. But yes, from knowledge point of view, cultural point of view, yes, we can say that. Otherwise, we have in India is the only place where we can see saints from all the 4, categories. See, there is no count. How many Gora Kumbhar, Kabir Das, Narsi Mehta. Narsi Mehta was a mochi. Kabir Das was a weaver. Gora Kumbhar was a potter. See? Namdev ji was a patil. He was a Vaishya. So, from every different category, we have saints in our country. And you can read about them. And therefore, so we must, at the body level, when we consider ourselves to be the body, when we come across such cultured people in our life, respect and revere them. This is what is told here. Not be jealous of them. See, जो आया बड़ा अपने आप को समझ रहा है, not like that. Then the next point was Guru and Prajna. Guru is our Guru Maharaj. That whatever we are today is exclusively due to our teachers in our life. In school, first mother was the teacher, then father was the teacher, then in the school we had the teachers, then whatever profession we went into we had teachers, then we went into the ashram or we come to the satsang, here also we have teachers. And every teacher has had an impact on how we think, how we interpret life. And therefore our respect and reverence towards our Guru Maharaj. Even though God is available everywhere in the world, in the universe, but it is the teacher, through his words, through his presence, through his being, makes it accessible for the seeker, shows the pathway, removes the knots of ignorance through the explanation of the scriptures. Left alone, we will only misunderstand what is written. See? So when we do Deva Puja, why do we do the Dev Puja? Is it to make God happy or ourselves happy? we do Deva Puja to make ourselves happy. We do Guru Puja to make Guru happy. We serve the Guru not to make ourselves happy. We do the service to the Guru Maharaj. How do you do the service to the Guru Maharaj? By not asking questions. By correctly understanding what is being told by the scriptures. See? And not misunderstanding, not comparing the teacher or the guru with anyone else. That the previous one was good or the next one will be better. No. Your attention is on the personality then. Put your attention on the studies. And in this way, the Guru Puja and therefore, it is an observation that when we do Deva Puja or at our altar, then we are a devotee, and when we do the service to the Guru Maharaj, then we are a seeker. It is automatic. You will not go to a teacher unless and until you are a seeker of whatever field, whether it is physics, chemistry, mathematics, scriptures, whatever. But you will approach a teacher only when there is an urge within you to know about it. See? Therefore, in this way, when we do puja, see, majority of the time when we are moving around in the world, how many of you, those who are doing puja, I have, if you take my day, for me 24 hours are very less. There's so much. I always feel it's how quickly the day passes every day. ये भी करना है, वो भी ये भी रह गया, वो भी रह गया. It never ends. But those who are lazy, for them, the day, अभी तक दिन चल रहा है. You know, how long is this day going to be? And when we are doing our puja, when we are doing seva at the body level, we are oblivious of the time. And in that way, our attention doesn't go on the time. We never get bored. Sleep comes only because we get bored. Bored with ourselves. It's the most pathetic thing. And therefore, and in this way, I told you last week that how do we serve the Guru, serve the teacher, serve the Guru? By putting into application what the teacher or the Guru Maharaj is telling. Secondly, don't impose your will on the teacher or the Guru Maharaj. Then what you should do? You should become so in tune initially at the physical level. Then that same thing will happen at the spiritual level also, or at the understanding level or the conscious level. Then what do we become in tune with? What are his needs? What are the expectations of the Guru Maharaj? Even though Guru Maharaj has got no expectation, but he is there serving the society. See? And in this way, instead of, I gave the example, I think here only I gave the example that one ashram was being built and everyone went and dumped all the garbage from their house, thinking that they were doing service to the ashram. It became a bigger problem for the ashram and that Guru Maharaj to dispose of. He had to spend money to dispose it off. So we must have that acumen. And when we have this acumen, that what is needed, what is required, what is expected by the teacher, even though he is without expectation, but this is how we interpret everything. A common man interprets. Then when you are in tune with his at the physical level, then automatically when we go to satsang or we listen to his words, we are in tune with that also. Because the ego is not ahankara vimudhatma. See? No ego in between. We are clean slate. And same way, the Guru Maharaj should not be compared with other teachers. Each teacher is unique. Each teacher is independent, just like every seeker is independent and unique. No two seekers are same. Even though they are twins, still not same. And then it was talked about, the last puja was talked about was Prajna Pujanam. Prajna are the saints and sages. And a saint or a sage may be a guru, may not be a guru. Who is a guru? Who is able to teach the scriptures? Excuse me. Guru is a person who is able to teach the scriptures. Mahatmas are, maybe they are able to teach scriptures, maybe they are just avdhutas. They are Siddha Mahatmas. And therefore they must be only respected and revered and should not be compared with anyone else. Because every Mahatma is unique, although established in the same truth. Every wave is unique, even though established in the same infinite waters. Every ornament is unique, even though made from the infinite gold. See? So do not compare. We have got this bad habit of comparison and passing comments. And that happens only because our attention is not on the finer things, which is the spirit, which is the divinity. And therefore, if we want to do puja, the first requirement will be shaucham. Shaucham means cleanliness, hygiene. It goes without saying. And this is for whom? Now, if you will say, oh, Shirdi Sai Baba never took bath in his whole life. Nobody saw him taking bath or shower or taking a dip in the river. I am a devotee of Shirdi Sai Baba. I am a devotee of Lord Shiva. He also doesn't take shower. This is a cop-out. If we consider ourselves to be the body, shaucham, hygiene, is paramount. And how where is the cleanliness? Where is the hygiene? Inner hygiene and outer hygiene. And wherever you live, whatever you wear, wherever you move around, always keep it clean, tidy, neat, brushed. Jhadu maro roj. See? And you will see this is in Australia. I don't know if you guys do it, but in India, every day, the jhadu pocha to hota hi tha. Hai ke nahi? So in this way, and when we do this, when we maintain, see, shaucham also means our disposition in which we interact with the world. And if we have no judgment in our heart, no biasness, there is only love brimming in and through our being. And then when we move through the world, naturally we will come across with love. People recognize that. People are seeking that. But we are not doing that because we want to impress other people. We are doing it because our attention is on the divine. And in this way, with that reverential love towards the divinity which is expressing in and through the whole universe, we serve and and we don't go and create organizations to serve the universe. No, we serve the one who comes to us. We serve the one who comes across us. ऐसे नहीं, अच्छा कोई दिख गया, गुद्दी पकड़ी, हाँ come, I'll do service to you. Majority people, they want to be useful to other people. So they are always, such are social workers, they are always on the lookout who is vulnerable. If you are a spiritual seeker, you are not on the lookout on other you are not on the lookout for vulnerable people, emotionally broken people, sick people. If they come across you, whoever comes across, if a child come across, love. If a friend come across, be friendly. See? But don't go seeking. That is a disease which is very prominent in this present world today. Arjavam. Arjavam is simplicity and straightforwardness. Now Jnaneshwar Maharaj told all that. I'm just recapping it again. Arjavam is simplicity and straightforwardness. And what is the then comes brahmacharya. And brahmacharya is that we renounce the bhoga attitude in our life. What is bhoga attitude? What is mine and what is yours is also mine. Bhoga attitude is Duryodhana's. Whatever you see, if you are in that trap, you go to someone's house, you see something that is very unique, very special. Hey, where did you get it? Oh, which shop did you get it? Are there any more pieces there? And you want to procure one of that. See? Then what should be our attitude? Yoga attitude, not bhoga attitude. Yoga is possible only when we are disciplined. That is any experience of our life, is it swaying us from our attention on the divinity, see, from our values, from our sense control and mind control? Is it swaying, or are we equanimous? Is it initiating a? Is my interaction with the world initiating a desire? Living a self-disciplined life, harnessing our entire vitality and applying it towards the yoga or the divine, such is brahmacharya. And so in other words, bhogi is giving up brahmacharya, losing all vitality and inspiration in life. And yogi is yoga pravritti or yoga attitude instead of bhoga attitude. It enhances, it strengthens brahmacharya. It increases your self-confidence, self-respect, atma, the strength within. and all that is required in order to uh, migrate to the subtler levels. And the last one is ahimsa, and that is that we live in our daily life in such a way that we do not hurt anybody, even if it is a mosquito. Okay. And in this way, that when we are doing tapasya at the body level, then body is the foundation of all activity. That is what was told here in this verse. And now we and in this, by following these steps, the various points that were told, we can bypass, we can reduce the impact of nidra, alasya, pramad. See, now we move to our next verse, 15th verse. अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यसनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते टुगेदर अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यसनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते. He says in the 15th verse, he says, speech which causes no annoyance and is truthful, pleasant, beneficial, as also study of scriptures is called austerity of speech. Tapasya at the speech level. So let's see what Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, and then if there's something to add, I'll add. तरी लोहाचे आंग तुक न तोडितांची कनक केले जैसे देख परीसे तेणे तैसे न दुःख वितासे जे जावळिया सुख निपजे ऐसे साधुत्व का देखिजे बोलना जिये पाणी मुदल झाडा जाये तृणते प्रसंगे चिजिये तैसे एका बोलिले होये सर्वाही हित जोडे अमृताची सुरसरी तै प्राणा ते अमर करी स्नाने पाप ताप वारी गोडी ही दे तैसा अविवेकुही फिटे आपुले अनादित्व भेटे ऐकता रुचि न भेटे पीयूषी जैसी. He says here that the philosopher's stone transforms iron into gold without reducing its shape or weight. In the same way, the speech is so guileless that one is pleased to hear it without being hurt. So our speech should be mridu, it should be nectarine, it should be loving, it should be empathetic. It should not be like a continuous barking at someone. क्या किया, क्यों गए, कहाँ गए थे, क्यों आ रहे हो, किस लिए गए थे, क्या खाया, खाओगे क्या, चाय बनाओ क्या, पीछे ही पड़े हैं, ये कुत्ता भौंकता है ना पीछे, वैसे. दैट इज नॉट द वे. मृदु भाषी. That one is pleased to hear it without being hurt. Our choice of words are such that they don't hurt anything or anyone. We are so careful in utilizing the vocabulary. Just as the watering of a tree helps grass to grow in its vicinity, so his speech addressed to a particular individual becomes beneficial to all. See? Self-explanatory. We are We are giving water to the plants, but the weeds also grow, the grass also grows. See? So same way, when we are talking to someone, even if someone overhears by mistake, see, Krishna Arjuna Samvad is one on one. But for last 5,500 years, it is benefiting every human being who interacts with this Bhagavad Gita. See how beautiful. Most of the Upanishads are interactions between a student and a teacher. See? Bhagavad is an interaction between Shukdevji Maharaj and Parikshit Maharaj. 18,000 verses. But see how for so many centuries now, 5,000 years, it is benefiting the humanity, benefiting the devotees. The words of Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, the great, all Patanjali Maharaj, so many great masters. They were not even speaking to anyone. Just out of that moment of bliss and an outpouring of verses came out. And till today we are studying them. See, so our speech should be such that it benefits even that person who is inadvertently listening to it. A sip from the river of nectar makes one immortal. A dip in it removes the sin and afflictions, and the tongue savors its sweetness. A sip from the river of nectar makes one immortal. A dip in it removes the sin. See, this is true about Gangaji. What do you do when you go to any river? Not only Gangaji, all rivers are Gangaji only. But when you go to a Gangaji or any river, what do you do first? If you have done it, I don't know. Those who have come with me, I tell them this. First we offer the arghya to the river. Om Gangayai Namaha. 3 times, 5 times, 7 times, whatever is your wish. And then you take the Amrit. Then you take a sip. After that, once she has washed you from inside, then you take the dip in the Gangaji. And if you go next time to Gangaji, make sure whatever your issue in life, whatever your problem in life, whatever your challenge in life, remember that challenge. Breathe in, hold the breath, and when you go in, you breathe out from your right nostril. See how with faith, naturally Gangaji hai, Gangaji to Tarini hai, and the problem vanishes. It's directly proportional to your faith. This topic is on faith only. In the same way, a seeker, his talk removes indiscrimination and brings one realization of one's true self. So, a person should speak in such a manner. The tapasya here is, he should speak in such a manner. Yesterday, somewhere I was saying, antar lakshya bahir drishti. When you are speaking, let the speech take place. Don't become the speaker. Then where is your attention when you are speaking? Your attention is on the divinity. Your attention is on the Atma. Your attention is on the awareness. Let the speech take place. The verse has been read. Automatically the explanation will come out. No choice for the mouth. The thoughts will appear in the mind. Let them appear. Speech will come out. Let it come out. If it doesn't come out, who cares? And when the speech comes out, which is external, it's going outwards, the speech is going outwards. It's starting from you and it's going outwards. But where is your attention? Inwards, on the Atma, on the Lord, on the Self. Then that speech cannot be but beneficial to whoever comes to listen to it. See, our speech is more out of judgments, is more out of attachments, is more out of desires, is more out of control, is more out of fear, is more out of biasness, is more out of manipulation. It's not coming from the source. If you want to listen to this, what is this speech? Now, Sunday onwards, we are starting that in the 3rd chapter of Amrit Anubhav. The Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. See? So, another way, keep chanting the name of the Lord, do some Vedic chanting, chant Bhagavad Gita 1 chapter every day. See how quickly, but do it with devotion. Do it with faith. See how quickly that speech purifies. Till now we are talking only about how are you, how's the family, how's the world, how's this president, and how's that prime minister, and how's this country, and how is COVID. As it purifies, you will find within minute or two of first of a bit of talking like this, immediately the attention again goes back to something substantial. And substantial is only one, the spirit. See? In the same way, his talk removes indiscrimination and brings one realization of one's true self. One is never bored by hearing it often, as one never becomes tired of sipping nectar. This is my case. For 22 years, I am not tired of listening to this speech. Same example, same scriptures again and again and again and again and again. People come and go. But for me, every time I take these verses, for me it is as if a reminder. It's absolutely fresh. I find something new. I'm watching, and I see that the expression, the examples are very different. The angle of approach is different. The depth is different. Essence is the same. Because every moment world is changing. Every moment body is changing. Every moment speech is changing. How can it be the same? What we spoke 10 years ago, same thing I'm repeating. It is not possible. But we live like that, isn't it? That, oh yeah, this is my default. I like only this. I like potatoes. I don't like eggplant. For how long? For last 25, 30, 40, 50 years. आगे explore करो भैया. Get out of your default settings. So one is never bored. They are not bored of their own company. So when there is no speech, they are not tired of themselves. They are not afraid of themselves. They are not afraid of silence. Because they love the spirit. Because speech, on one hand it is silence, and on the other hand it is the expression of words. And when we are not afraid, when we are not in discomfort when we are in silence, then the speech which ensues from that blissful silence, the quality of that speech will be different. It will not be for out of fear or judgments or discontentment, etc. It will be coming from contentment. Then that speech becomes a reflection of the Spirit. It's as if the Spirit, the divine itself, is speaking. And that is true. See? So here, then he continues in the 21st OV. Zari koni kari pusane, tari hoa ve aise bolane, na tari avartane, निगमू का नाम ऋग्वेदादि तीन्ही प्रतिष्ठी जति वाग्भुवनी केली जैसी वदनी ब्रह्मशाळा ना तरी एकाधे नाव तेची शैव का वैष्णव वाचे वसे ते वाग्भव तप जाणावे आता तपजे मानसिक तेही सांगो ऐक म्हणे लोकनाथ नायक Nayakuto. He says, where are we? He says he talks only when somebody accosts him. Otherwise, he is engaged in the study of the Vedas or in muttering the name of the Lord. I already told you that. He does not go, this person, the one who is doing tapasya at the level of speech, such a seeker or such a tapasvi, he does not go and seek company. He is busy. Either he is busy with himself being in silence. Silence cannot be all the time. So then he opens up some text, reads it, chants it, engages, keeps himself engaged. And if someone comes, then the talking begins. Otherwise, he is engaged in the study of the Vedas or in the muttering of the name of the Lord. One must spend every day. This is the discipline. You must chant the name of the Lord. Take out some time for it. Initially like that. Otherwise, once you get addicted to it, then any time during the day, nobody is speaking, mantra begins. But take out some time, as I said before, to chant the Bhagavad Gita, to chant the Upanishads, to chant the Vedic mantras, read the Vedic mantras. This is called Abhyasa. And don't do it in your mind. Do it with the loudly. That's why after a long time, yesterday, remember I told you, I am going to attempt what? Shankar Bhashya of the Ishavasya Upanishad and make you suffer. Joyfully or miserably, that's up to you. I'm sure we will enjoy it. And after few I never attempted it. First time I'm doing it. But after few pages, once I start becoming comfortable with it, like anything, I was not born speaking and giving satsangs like this, lectures like this. The first lecture which I gave, out of 1.5 hours, 45 minutes I made them chant this mantra, that this thing, that thing, and 5-minute, 10-minute meditation, so that I have to speak less because I didn't know how to start. Just like when suddenly if you go to a gym, first day you go, oh my God, this is hurting, that is hurting, this is hurting, that is hurting. After few days, few trips to the gym, then you are easily able to lift and twist and turn and do the various exercises. Same way. But a conscious interaction with faith, dedication, sincerity on a daily basis is required. That is tapasya at the speech level. And don't go, I want to understand, I want to understand. No, don't understand. Just chant. What is there to understand about God? When He reveals it, He will reveal it. Come to a satsang and become available to that knowledge. Rest of the time, chant, purify. Purify. Because speech is nothing but grossified mind. Understand this. Speech is nothing but grossified mind. Thought manifested is called speech. See? He installs all the three Vedas in the shrine of his speech and makes his organ of speech as it were a seminary of Vedic studies. See, some people are there almost every day. 3, 4, 5, 6 classes a week. We are doing Vedic chanting. We are learning. 2 ladies are there for 6 years now, 6, 7 years I think. They started just out of interest. They came, they started. Now, when we come, today, during the last 2 months, we were going through the Bhagavad Gita. So, every line I chanted and they repeated after me, 3 of them. Then today, now we just started. 2 weeks ago we started that each one will chant each chapter. And it's good. Time pass हो रहा है और क्या? 1.5 hours goes just like that. फिर भूख अच्छी लगती है उसके बाद फिर जाके खाना खा लो. You get inspired. Today I made focaccia. See? But one must engage. So what is the best? What should be our mind be programmed with, and what should be muttered out of our mouth? Normally we are only talking about opinions and comments and this and gossips. No. Let our mind be, here Bhagwan Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, let our mind be a seminary of the 3 Vedas or the 4 Vedas. That means you get involved with the chanting so much that किसी ने टच किया कि मंत्र शुरू हो गया बाहर. So then your speech also जो है, जब किसी से बात करनी है, when you have to talk to someone, you will talk to them, but rest of the time those mantras are going on. Om Tachchayavravrinimhe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye, goes on and on and on. Rudram goes on and on and on. And if all that is too difficult for you, the ups and downs of the Vedic mantras, it's okay, nothing wrong. Take the name of the Lord. Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Get lost in that mantra. Or Om Namah Shivaya. Loudly, not in mentally. We are talking about speech. Always begin from the gross speech. See. Then the name of either Lord Shiva or of Lord Vishnu or any other god ever remains on the lip of his tongue. Exactly what we just said. These are what are known as the austerities of the speech. Now I shall tell you the characteristics of the austerities of the mind. So said Lord Krishna, the Lord of the guardian of the world. And in this way, another thing that we must remember is that our speech must be truthful, and the truth has to be spoken. This ability, this acumen, one has to develop, and it develops only with awareness. And the truth be spoken in such a manner that it is not hurting another person. That is a sign of a cultured person. If someone dies and you go to an old person and you come out, "Hey, old man, your wife just died." "What? My wife died?" He also dies. Have you told? "No, I told the truth." but your truth took another life. And you see how people normally break these type of news without making someone go into shock. क्या हो गया? कुछ नहीं हुआ. You're sitting there. नहीं, बोलो क्या हो गया बेटा? नहीं, कुछ नहीं, सब ठीक है. नहीं, कुछ तो हुआ है. And slowly he will not say your wife has died or your mother has died or your grandma has died. No. They'll say, now I will not be able to eat the wonderful dosas that auntie used to make. Why? What happened? You can always eat dosas, come anytime. No, I don't think I will be able to eat now. And when he repeats once or twice, suddenly the other person comes to that conclusion that, oh, why is he saying again and again that this person is not going to be able to eat the dosas? Has something happened? So instead of a immediate shock, now it has become an extended unfoldment of the event for him. The impact is less. And that truth which hurts others must not be spoken. चले जाओ वहां से. Don't take the responsibility of being, I am a truthful person, I tell the truth. Even if it creates wars. Get away from there. You don't have to say. Sometimes silence is okay. Now, coming to the manasik tapas. What is manasik tapas? So that was tapas, yes. Manasik tapas here is in the 16th verse. What is the time now? 8:40. Okay. लंबा है. मनःप्रसाद सौम्यत्वं मौनमात्मविनिग्रहः भावसंशुद्धिरित्येतत् तपोमानसमुच्यते. Together, मनःप्रसाद सौम्यत्वं मौनमात्मविनिग्रहः भावसंशुद्धिरित्येतत् तपोमानसमुच्यते. In the 16th verse he says, serenity of mind, gentleness, silence, self-control and purity of the heart are called austerities of the mind. What are they? Serenity of the mind, that is manaprasad. Saumyatvam, that is gentleness. Maunam, silence. Atma vinigraha, self-control. And how is this self-control coming about? When the mind is atma vinigraha, when the mind is hooked to the atma, hooked on, it's thinking, contemplating, then atma vinigraha. Bhava sanshuddhi, purity of the heart. purity of the intention in whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we speak. Purity of intention is very important. That there is no corruption, there is no manipulation, there is no violence, there is no untruthfulness. See? This is how we should cultivate our mind. This is a sign of a cultured mind. Previous was a sign of a cultured speech. Before that was the sign of a cultured body. And you come, body is body with hands, legs, but you see the actions at the level of body, and from that you come to assess whether that person is cultured or not. By his speech you assess he is cultured or not. From his intentions you assess whether he is cultured or not. So in this way, let's read the till 30th we will read. तरी सरोवर तरंगी सांडिले आकाश मेघी का चंदनाचे उर्गी उद्यान जैसे नाना कळा वैषम्ये चंद्रू का सांडिला आधी नरेंद्रू ना तरी क्षीर समुद्रू मंदराचळे तैसी नाना विकल्पा जाळे सांडुनी गेलिया सकळे मन राहे का केवळे स्वरूपे जे तपने वीण प्रकाशू जाढे जाढे वीण रसी रसू पोकळी वीण अवकाशू होय जैसा तैसी आपली सोय देखे आणि आपलिया स्वभावा मुके हिमवली जैसी आंगिके हिवोने दी निजांग तैसे न चलते कळके वीण शशिबिंब जैसे परिपूर्ण तैसे चोखी शृंगारपण मनाचे जे. The Lord of the mind is the moon god. Today is full moon. So here he says, like the lake without waves, the sky without clouds, or the garden of sandalwood trees without serpents, or the full moon without its phases, or the king without anxiety, or the milky sea without the Mandhara mountain, his mind remains steady in the Supreme Self, free from entanglements. How beautiful, how beautiful. Today I was lying in the sun after lunch. इतना मज़ा आ रहा था. वो बाड़ू मामा का सीरियल देखा, One Saint in from Maharashtra and Karnataka border. And after that, after seeing that, I went and lied down in the grass outside. Beautiful blue sky, absolutely blue. And out of nowhere, suddenly the clouds were coming, they were expanding, becoming big, and suddenly they were vanishing, again they were coming, and again they were vanishing. And I was thinking, lying down there, initially I was enjoying. I was thinking, अच्छा अभी this cloud has started, let it become big, let it become big. I was as if, मैंने कहा ये कहाँ फंस रहा हूँ, मेरा दिमाग कहाँ फंस रहा है. It's making it big, making it destroying the cloud. It's happening by itself. But then I said, acha, let me see. Then I started thinking from space point of view. What is space getting tickled because of the appearance of the cloud? Or does the space become comfortable? Acha, chalo bhai, ek bala tali, the cloud has gone now. No. Space never is ever undisturbed, even if the clouds are there or not there. Space is always space. So here it is told, like the lake without waves. Even if the waves are there, how does it matter here? But then even if the waves are there, then it will be the Atma. Here it is talked about like the lake without waves. Here we are talking about the Manasa, Mana. We are talking about the mind. We are not talking about the spirit. So mind is like that lake, and what are the waves on the lake? The thought waves. So let the mind be ever enjoying the bliss of silence. And it doesn't come by fluke. It doesn't come by coincidence. It can come by grace. And till that happens, you have to work towards it. What is that? Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, Para. As you move from the gross to the subtle, purifying, by the time you reach Madhyama, the speech, the gross speech vanishes. Now it is only mental speech. And when you reach Pashyanti, that mental speech also subsides. And you must not go to sleep. Then it goes to Para. See? The sky without clouds, or the garden of sandalwood trees without serpents, or the full moon without its phases. No disturbance, no corruption, no breakup. Or the king without anxiety. King without anxiety. Anxiety of who wants my throne, like Dhritarashtra. See? Or the Milky Way without the Milky Sea without the Mandara mountain. If the mountain is there in the middle, the sea, whichever way it goes, it is going to dash against the Mandara mountain, and there will be churning of the waters, and there will be disturbance. That disturbance is called desire. That churning of the waters is called desire. And what did the mind get dashed against? Some object which it got attached to. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa. Same principles will keep coming again and again. And we are not tired to repeat them again and again, even 1,000 times. Only once it needs to click. His mind remains steady in the Supreme Self, free from entanglements. Sukha dukkha samay kritva labha labho jaya jayo. Sukha dukkha samay kritva. So do not be excited when there is happiness. Don't be miserable when there is things are not going according to your wishes, are not conducive. Don't live a life of gain and loss. Live a life of contentment. Don't live a life of gain and loss, victory and defeat. Comfort and discomfort, honor and insult. No, these things are of the world. You cannot stop yourself. These things, someone will come, you don't know who's coming next. He will say, oh you are such a great person, wonderful, enjoyed. And very next moment someone will say, फालतू का बोल रहा है. It's okay. You be established in yourself. You must not react in life. And the only way not to react in life towards the experiences that are coming to you is when your mind is tethered, is hooked on to, is in love with, is aspiring and contemplating on the Atma Tattva. That is the only way. He realizes his own self like light without heat, food without fat, or the sky without space. So, what is this? What is this Atma? He realizes his own self like light without heat. Have you ever seen a light without heat? Even if it is 0 watt, there will be little bit heat, isn't it? So, in other words, here what we are talking about is without attributes. The Atma without attributes. Attributes are in the mind. Atma has got no attributes. Atma is one without a second. It is the only thing. Infinite has no attributes. We say it is Sat, Chit, Anand, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swarup. Where are all these words? Are they in the Atma or are they in your mind? They are in our mind, isn't it? So what is light? Heat and light. What is it is light without heat. Acha, theek hai. Food without fat, or the sky without space. How can the sky without space? That means there is no sky. So double contradiction. Basically thinking in this manner, your mind vanishes. Which I keep saying again and again. Think of such thoughts by way of which no new thought is precipitated in your mind and no conclusion is formed in your mind. So when you think of infinity, the word infinity which we use so liberally, but have we experienced infinity? Is it an object of cognition? Is it an experience? Can you experience infinity? I can experience water, but can I experience infinity? Can I experience eternity? Can I experience birthlessness? I'm talking about experience. Experience is always of something. Atma is not something to be experienced. It is your nature. But right now, we are talking about tapasya at the level of the mind. Don't forget the context. So, this mind which is entangled in relationships, possessions, the world of objects, past, future, waking, dream, sleep, how do you wean it away? Because this is happening anyway. You like it or not, it will keep happening. Then how do you wean it away? By hooking it on to the divine theme. Hooking it on to the divine theme. If you take the name of the Lord, automatically when it reaches the Pashyanti, you're migrating from the gross to the subtle to the causal and going beyond. What is beyond? Atma. Just as the benumbed limbs are not afflicted by cold, so he is rid of his fickle nature. When we lose all the feeling in our at the body level, like there is one person, he had an accident, and I went to their house, and he can't smell after that accident. Nose is there, but the sense of smell is not there. Ear is there. Some people, the hearing ability is not there. Tongue is there, but the taste is not there. Those nerve endings have gone away. Similarly, if you go to Kedarnath, Badrinath, some of you must have gone there, you will see so many Mahatmas. They are sitting there in that cold, naked at night, just with one langot. How come? They don't feel cold, benumbed. Just as the benumbed limbs are not affected by cold, so either you take it two ways. Either you are body disidentified, therefore you are not feeling the cold, or when the the the, the, the body is, there is no reaction at the body level or the sensory level, then whatever the stimuli come, we are not affected. That stage which is told here is called pratyahar in yoga. Pratyahar. Senses are open, stimuli are coming, but mind is not interested. Neither it goes out of the senses to grab hold of objects for experience, nor the objects from outside are making an impact on the mind. Pratyahar. Mind in suspension. So he is rid of his fickle nature. So what is happening? Before, the fickleness of the mind, meaning the thought, eruption of the thoughts in the mind, was on account of the stimuli. Now he has come to a point where, by his continuous exposure of the mind to the Atma Tattva and control of the senses and mind, which is Shamadama, Uparama, see, the fickleness of the mind has stopped. It has become silent. It has become single pointed. It has become shant. It has become content. Then his mind becomes clear and full of love, like the unchanging and spotless moon's disk. Such a mind, which in spite of being in the world is not registering the thoughts of the world, because it is in love with the divine. So the only thought in the mind is that of the divine. When this happens, such a mind is clear. In such a mind, understanding takes place just like that. You hear it and the correct understanding happens. We don't have to collect data and then present it and then interact with it in order to understand. Once is enough. It's intuitive. We'll stop here. 230th OV. 231st we have to start. So we'll continue with the tapasya at the mind level. And Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.